We will now be continuing our scientific session. We now resume our scientific session with a keynote address by Professor R.K. Jena sir on hematology, its relevance in present and future at BHU. I invite Professor Jena sir to come to the stage to start the talk. The chairpersons for this session are Professor B. Dubey and Professor V.P. Singh sir. I invite the chairpersons to initiate the session.
Friends, good afternoon. For me, it's a great day, a great opportunity because I'm sitting with my guru. Because of him, I started hematology in the Department of Medicine in this institute. So the senior most person and the student of the first batch is sitting in front of all of you. That's a great opportunity for me. I think that Jena doesn't need any introduction now because everybody knows regarding him. I request him to deliver his address. He will be speaking on hematology, its relevance in present and future. Yes.
So thank you, Professor Singh and Professor Dubey, and good afternoon once again to all of you. Thanks to Professor Tilak inviting me here and again giving this opportunity to talk on this, the relevance of hematology, hemato-oncology in BHU. This is a topic is very close to me, and I have spoken on many parts of the country and emphasizing the relevance of this discipline in every state and every institutions of our country. I will be very skip. I have been asked to cut short, and I will be very brief, and I may skip few of the points also. Look, the hemato-oncology or hematology today, there has been many myths versus reality also. And many people think that probably hematology is not a common disease. The advances are minimum and prognosis, treatment are manageable by others. Cost of treatment is not affordable, it's very expensive. And career opportunity for the young postgraduate residents, hematology comes at the last so for picking up as a super specialty also. Even if you don't find from the physician from medicine or pediatric faculty choose also. Only pathologist faculty they are most of the interested. And hematology is a minority in the country. Just to take up the point by point. If you look at the incidence, probably this is the highest. As for example, even on today, anemia is the commonest illness that every country of the world and every department is having this problem. If you look at the Indian settings or Indian incidence, say 50% of the Indian population are anemic, and 60% of the pediatric population, and 70% of the pregnant female in India, they are anemic. And if you, the WHO statistics tells that if you improve the anemia problem in India, the 20% of the national productivity can be increased. So anemia is the commonest medical illness that our patients are suffering. If you combine the other diseases like platelet disorders, your coagulation problems, your hematological malignancies, your hemoglobinopathy like thalassemia, sickle cell disease, and etc., probability outnumbers any of the disciplines so far incidence is concerned. So hematology is the having the highest incidence of the diseases among all the medical science in whatever our patients are suffering, every state of the country for that. This is so far incidence is concerned. Advance, I told you in my inaugural address, there has been a transformation has occurred. There has been tremendous and breathtaking advances. Though every discipline of the medical science has advanced to some extent, but the pace in which the hematology is developing is really in a galloping space it is developing. Say for example, if you pick up diabetes, pick up hypertension, pick up even your bronchial asthma, whatever I have done in MD medicine, say in probably in 82 or like that, whatever changes has occurred, maybe 5%, 10%. But pick up any hematological malignancy, any hematological diseases, be it thalassemia, sickle cell, even iron deficiency anemia. Forget about acute lymphoblastic leukemia, etc. Every year they are changing. This is really breathtaking. It's very difficult to keep pace with the way the development are occurring, not only in the diagnostic field, but also in the management. So the advances are so high, it's very difficult to keep the pace. All the generalists, or whatever, you cannot be a pan physician, you cannot be an adult physician, pediatrician or pathologist, and simultaneously you can keep pace with all the developments, all the advances which has occurred, all the disciplines related to your subject also. So the third is the prognosis I told you. Again you pick up, I told you in my address how the things have changed in the 20 years back. You pick up any hematological diseases, I will skip it also. We have a reasonable amount of prognosis. You can going to achieve even 70 to 80% cure rate in many of the untreatable diseases which are thought in the past also. Prognosis has significantly improved. Treatment managed by others, this is not possible. This is not possible. You are joking. If you really tell that every pediatricians or physicians or they can manage all the hematological patients, it's a next to impossible. I am not criticizing, I am not blaming, because the plethora or the informations, the magnitude of the changes and new things which are coming, it's very difficult to really keep pace with the changes, and there can be no pan physician who can treat all the diseases like also. If you look at the West, you have department of myeloma, department of leukemia, department of thalassemia, department of individual diseases. Even forget about individual diseases which has happened in US or other countries. At least we should have a discipline-oriented department or committed physicians to take care of all the hematological diseases is the need of the hour. No, there can be no concept of pan physician who can treat all the diseases. It's next to impossible. Now the cost of the treatment, yes, the cost of treatment has really escalated like anything by the introduction of the molecular investigations, monoclonal antibodies, so many things also. But across the country now, the government of India, most of the state governments have put a high importance so far management is concerned. Odisha leads so far the supplying or providing the healthcare system. The government of Odisha has adopted a universal free healthcare system to all these patients, irrespective of the cost. Be it 10 lakhs, be it 20 lakhs, whatever is required. Any patient of the Odisha government or the Odisha patients, they can get a full support from the government of Odisha. Similarly, government of India and many state governments have adopted. They have procuring the cancer drugs. They are almost most of the states are providing all the cost or all the costly therapy free of cost. So cost has no increase, but because of the government support, many of the patients are able to reach or able to receive this unaffordable cost. Now the career opportunity, I told you, many DMs or many young postgraduates are listening, but if you look at the, if you look at the practices, there is a wrong concept that probably the practice or everything comes so far the cardiologist is concerned, neurologist is concerned, or gastroenterologist is concerned. But believe me, if you have really a holistic hematologist, if you have your own practice with your own laboratory, it can match with any of the disciplines so far your career opportunities concerned. Every college or many of the corporate hospitals are now appreciated. There is a demand from the public to have a full-fledged hematology department. Many of the hospitals, both government and corporate, are looking for the qualified hematologist. I am sure. So this provides an exciting career opportunity for young postgraduate and residents also. This is because that so far the so if you look at the need and demand, as I told, even if the incidence is the highest, but if you look at the distribution of the hematologists across the country, it's a minimum. There is a huge gap between the need and the demand is concerned. That's because the hematology or hemato-oncology is a minority in India. If you look at many of the states, hematology does not exist. Even in some of the states where hematology exists, there are not many, all the institutions where hematology department is there. It is because of the minority nature of this subject or discipline has made many people to believe probably hematology does not exist. It is a non-entity, the incidence is less, and it can be managed by every physician, be it pediatrician, be it adult physicians also. This is because of these things. So this is a few tips so far the myth and so far the reality is concerned. I will tell you I have just told you the magnitude of individual. I told you I'll just keep it 50%. If you combine anemia, which happens in 50% of the Indians, hemoglobinopathy, thalassemia, sickle cell, hemoglobin E, bleeding disorders, platelet disorders, malignancies, leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, and taken together, it outnumbers any of the discipline so far the incidence of the disease is concerned. That is a official figure. Now the blood diseases is now a major portion of this so far our patient suffering is concerned. If you look at the advances in the hematology or hemato-oncology is concerned, contrast to our belief that hematology does not have any much advances, tremendous and outclass any discipline which I have given an example. The technology is at the highest level and upgrading. Whatever the maximum number of the molecular or the genetic investigations are being utilized by the hematological patients only. All diagnoses are evidence-based. Gone are the day where you can say just in the morning I have a different opinion so far morphology is concerned. Now the technology has really, believe me, technology has override this so far morphology concern. In 2020, no matter what is the morphology, unless and until you give a BCR-ABL positive, you are not going to diagnose and treat a case of chronic myeloid leukemia. So also, irrespective of the morphology, unless you proved by your flow cytometry or by genetic test, you are not diagnosing the kit or treating as a case of acute lymphocytic leukemia or acute myeloid leukemia. The technology, the high technology has really overridden the morphology. Now a young hematologist can sit in the lab with these technological advances. He can predict a lot of things also. So and without this, this is not a standard of care. Now in 2020, this is a must, and this is being considered as a standard of care. So for diagnosis and risk stratification and management of any hematological diseases are concerned. So all diagnoses are evidence-based. You cannot predict, you cannot give a hypothetical thing just by a morphology only. And so for cytogenetics and molecular techniques is concerned, every hematological diseases, be it leukemia, ALL, acute myeloid leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, multiple myeloma, it has come in a big way and it has been well validated and has been standardized practice. So for the diagnosis, risk stratification, monitoring at the MRD level is concerned, and therapeutic changes is concerned. So without these helps, you cannot, not only the diagnosis management is evidence-based, to cater the standard of care, you have to adopt all these facilities, or else your standard of care is really below par, whatever the current position is concerned. So maximum new drugs, you pick up any discipline, if you find this over hematology, hemato-oncology is that every year maximum new drugs are approved, maximum clinical trials, again in the place of chemotherapy and particular hematological malignancy, standard of care is rapidly changing. If you pick up, say, multiple myeloma, if you look at 2 years what was happening in standard of care, today is obsolete and there is another standard of care. I am seeing, or I have seen the last 10 years, how every hematological malignancy is changing so rapidly by introduction of the new drugs, by introduction of the new ideas and new concepts also. So standard of care is rapidly changing, targeted therapy come in a big way, personalized therapy, because by the genetic, so next generation sequencing, you can identify individual patients, accordingly you can design your therapy, and gene therapy of course is going to be started as quick as possible. So for hemophilia or the sickle cell disease and many other diseases are concerned, overall if you consider overall, it's an exciting and a very interesting field so far hematology is concerned. So advances in therapeutics, I told you what a change has occurred in chronic myeloid leukemia. From a 10% survival as 5 years, it has now gone up to 90%. Now the CML, they live just like they are by a normal counter. Acute promyelocytic leukemia, if God asks a person to which cancer you want to choose, you have to choose acute promyelocytic leukemia, 90% cure rate. So that's the kind of the scenario, the understanding has changed. Again, pediatric ALL, more than 90% cure rate. Hodgkin's disease, you know it's a cure rate. And again, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, 60 to 70% cure rate. Multiple myeloma, I told you, this is one of my favorite and fascinating subjects. What a change has occurred. And aplastic anemia, again from untreatable, it has gone up to 60%, 70%. If you go for the transplant, you can achieve even 70% long-term cure. Myelodysplastic syndrome and of course the bone marrow transplant has really revolutionary techniques so far the overall impact of the hematological diseases concerned. And mind it, these are not simple. If you look at chronic myeloid leukemia, acute promyelocytic leukemia, pediatric ALL, Hodgkin's disease, so randomly, so let us speak Hodgkin's disease. Look, what has happened in Hodgkin's disease and understanding, even if you have 80%, 90% cure, many of the diseases they have received over treatment, I mean over chemotherapy or the over radiation. So now the terminals come that you have a early phase, a late phase, and you have a low risk, intermediate risk, so many criteria, so IPS scoring system. So means individualism means you have to not only diagnose a case, re-stratify and calculate the exact what is the amount of the treatment. Such is the change in our understanding, such is the new insights which has come. Now we have to so many sub-classifications of diseases. Accordingly, you have to exactly give the chemotherapy or the therapy, nothing less, nothing more, to gain the maximum benefit with the minimum side effect. That is possible only when a qualified hematologist will be there with all the recent information. You can subcategorize the different class of the patient and deliver what is just required. So just an example how the pediatric ALL from almost 0% cure rate has gone up to 90%. That is possible only when a dedicated committed hematologist will be available. That's the scenario of chronic myeloid leukemia. From almost 10% long-term survival, it has been gone up to 90 or more than 90%. And similarly, acute promyelocytic, I have told you, I have already told the Hodgkin's lymphoma, I have told you, again the cure Hodgkin's lymphoma, again diffuse large cell lymphoma. You have a lymphoma department and one hematologist can be committed to the lymphoma only. There are many instances also. Say, pick up the diffuse large BCL. It's a non-homogeneous population. R-CHOP is not the answer. You have many sub-classifications. You have double hit, triple hit, and triple negative lymphoma, so on. So every class of the disease or hematological malignancy has been now sub-classified depending on the cytogenetics and molecular markers, whether the low risk, intermediate risk, high risk, and accordingly the therapy has been designed. So it is not possible to have a pan-physicians to pick up all these developments and to deliver all the results. Acute myeloid leukemia, again, you have a 3+7 chemotherapy, then you can go for you can achieve the complete hematological remissions. Now again, you have a mutation-specific therapy. Suppose it's a FLT3 mutation or SEBAPA, accordingly you can go away, say, FLT3 inhibitors. Again, depending on the risk classification, you can go for the either allogenic bone marrow transplant or you can continue with high-dose chemotherapy. So that is the kind of an example how sub-classification is becoming a standard of care, and how you have to deliver it to the patient to optimize the benefit is concerned. Hyperplastic anemia, I think skip, I will skip it. Again, sickle cell disease, you have a lot of changes has occurred, a lot of new drugs has come up recently. Your P-selectin inhibitor has been approved. So in 2018, it was L-glutamine. So again, it needs your clinical art to decide who are the sickle cell diseases in addition to hydroxyurea, who needs these two drugs in which combination also. This is not possible to really acquire with if you are looking for all the diseases for like that also. Again, this is the sickle cell. So thalassemia, again, multiple myeloma. I told you multiple myeloma. It's a very noisy and happening field. Every day or every year, every half yearly, you find a lot of changes. Indians are playing a very lead role. So a lot of changes in myeloma is coming, and there are many stalwarts who are committed only for myeloma. So myeloma, they only diagnose, only treat myeloma, and myeloma, nothing else. So that's the kind of the development which is occurring in every disease also. So discovery of drugs, I have told anti-platelet. Again, if you look at the factors, since coagulation abnormality was a pioneer work done by the BHU, all the people also. We will look at the factor concentrate also. You have a plasma derived, you have a recombinant, you have a long-acting recombinant, you have a bispecific factor concentration, you have so on. So there's a lot of technological advances which is not possible to if you don't committed to this kind of the diseases also. You have anticoagulants, like a lot of changes, a lot of direct acting anticoagulants, you have growth factors, you have immunoglobulins, monoclonal antibodies playing a major role in the management of hematological diseases, newer chemotherapy agents and others. This is a breathtaking discovery which is not possible if you really committed, if you don't narrow down your field of interest. This is not possible to really catch all these developments. So now again it has come the CAR T cells. So the CAR T cells is the T cells derived from the thymus. In vitro, you have to use a plasmid, you have to change. So now it has come in a big way. Every disease, be it leukemia, be it myeloma, be it so now the craze for CAR T cells. So that the future belongs to CAR T cells. Lot of changes. Stem cell transplant, again, is a revolutionary procedure. I won't go to the historical. I'll just leave that in 1990, E. Donald Thomas won the Nobel Prize for proving that is a curative options in hematological diseases. First time he tried in Seattle Institute. E. Donald Thomas is no more. I have a privilege to meet in the annual conference, as I think Professor Tippett was there on that time also. There was E. Donald oration in American Society of Hematology annual conference is there. Whether you like or don't like, stem cell research and therapy is going to dominate the medical field in the present century. All the blood bank is supposed to be closed, and you have a now stem cell or the regenerative medicines is coming up. You can regenerate a lot of parts, either bone, piece of bone, heart, or anything from the pluripotent stem cell. So stem cell and stem cell therapy and stem cell transplantation and stem cell therapy is going to dominate these medical fields for the coming centuries, or this century is coming, or this century is to come. So my youngsters, my advice to the youngster and postgraduates is concerned, if you don't really try to catch up this hematology, you may miss the boss in the future also. So now the transfusion medicine is a fascinating subject. Without that, you can't, the hematology does not exist. So a lot of changes are there, a lot of, so the transfusion medicine is not only confined to blood banking or blood and delivering blood, a lot of things has occurred for that. So diagnostic hematology, again, there is a breathtaking advances. Everything is now fully automated coagulator, We are fully automatic counter now. There is a lot of upgradations of our counter is concerned. SPLC capillary electrophoresis gives a diagnosis of hemoglobinopathy in less than 6 minutes. Immunoelectrophoresis and free light chain ratio, immunotyping or immunohistochemistry, PCR molecular technology, FISH and cytogenetics, immunohistochemistry, and so on. So these are the few examples what are the breathtaking development in the diagnostic field is concerned. I think for the hematology or hemato-oncology, unique discipline, in my lecture I told you, nowhere in the any subject of the medical science you need to have integration of the clinical and laboratory findings. Look, if with the diabetes, if you have getting a blood sugar more than 140, or if you are getting a blood pressure more than this, or if you are getting a thyroid stimulating hormone level more than that, your diagnosis is confirmed. But in most of the cases of hematological diseases, unless and until you integrate the hematological laboratory finding and clinical finding, you will land into trouble. As for example, suppose if you are getting a thrombocytopenic patient, if you in a patient, if you find that there is a big spleen, your ITP diagnosis is denied, or or if you are getting a pancytopenia, whatever may be your bone marrow finding, if you are getting a moderate splenomegaly on the clinical finding, that goes against the diagnosis of a significant hypoplastic anemia. I have seen also in many passages, the hematological diseases cannot be diagnosed either in the laboratory nor in the clinical bedside also. It has to be integrated. Therefore, the Medical Council of India has mandated that for a full-fledged hematology department, you should under the one roof, you should have the laboratory findings as well also the urban clinical patients, so that everything can be corroborated, so that you can reach a possible and reasonable diagnosis. That is the uniqueness of hematology, that you have to integrate both clinical laboratory findings to reach a reasonable diagnosis, even follow-up of the patients also, which never exist in any discipline of the science. I think hematology in the present scenario, most of the states, they don't have the hematology. Most of the institutions know. Most of the doctors are not interested, and quality control is a big concern. And government or the corporate support, though there is a lot of money in the government is willing to open, but there are no qualified hematologists concerned. And reverse in the corporate, whatever the qualified hematologists are there, they are preferring to work in a corporate hospital. So there is a huge gap in our country. So for need or the versus of the availability of the qualified hematologists in our country is that. So the reason for that huge gap is there is no advocacy so far hematologists concerned. I told you it's a minority. Minority has no voice, has no force. It is all depends on the government or anybody's pleasures like that. How else? How can you believe a professor when a Dubey's caliber and Professor Singh I have seen in many times in our national conference, and BHU being an iconic institute, we have all the super specialties except hematology. Albeit so many reality which I explained, how come this is an iconic university can't have the hematology as a super specialty, in spite of all the, even my teachers have almost all the super specialty disciplines there. And second is information, there may be a misinformation, attitude of the, yes, we have a problem in our attitude, which I understand self-explanatory. We are not seriously committed to open this beautiful subject or discipline. There is a non-coverage of the Consumer Act. If the Consumer Act will be covered in the BHU, I am sure but tomorrow the hematology department is going to be open. If any patients treated in government institutions will come under the purview of the Consumer Act, under-treated or over-treated, I am sure everybody will be careful to open the hematology so that to provide the standard of care. So there is a none, and money is not the cause. Opening of hematology department, money is not cause, and BHU does not require money. It is not only an iconic, it's the PMS constitutes. So I don't think money is a problem. So for any development of Banaras is concerned, I think I will skip, because the Banaras is an ideally is an index constitutes so far the whole country is concerned. I have seen the development, money is not a problem. I think I will skip so far the SCB medical concern is concerned. We have tried, we have opened almost everything, whatever facilities there. This is my last slide. India is changing. Last year I come from a village countryside near to the sea. I finished my schooling without electricity. There was no electricity, nothing. And in that time, during that time, the paddy used to be, we used to peel the paddies or the seeds, the paddies by these machines which are running by the diesels. Last year when I was going, it really drew my attention. This has been becoming obsolete. Now there is a mobile, there is a portable machine which is peeling the paddy trees. Suppose you require, you give a call. Earlier time, we used to go to the center where all these machines are there. We'll again carry the a paddy after feeling like that. But nowadays, any farmer who requires this kind of things, he has a mobile, he will call to the call center, the fellow who is having, that portable machine will come to the doorstep and it will fill up all these seats like that and he will take his charges and it will go. That is the kind of aspiration now a common man of India has now aspired at demanding, and they are availing the benefit. So providing the benefit, I am sure not only the patients affording for this coming to Banaras Hindu University, even to this part of UP also, the people demand, people need the services of a full-fledged hematology department because the aspiration of the common man has increased and BHU has a right or has an obligation to provide such kind of facilities to the not only to the patients surrounding and also to providing and spread this information across the country the way the BHU is known and the way the BHU is famous in disseminating the not only education and creating a stalwart across the country. With this, I think I conclude that every institute of the state should have an hematology department. Few centers in every state should have a state-of-art department which includes the bone marrow transplant unit and the stem cell research unit, because I told you stem cell therapy or the transplant and stem cell therapy is the future, and every institute, at least in a state, should have such facilities. And certainly that the Banaras Hindu University deserves a full-fledged hematology with the department. With this, I conclude my talk. I ask all of you to support for this movement to open or to have a full-fledged hematology department in BHU. Thank you for your attention. Any comment, any question?
Thank you, Professor Jaina. Any comment, Dr. Tripathi?
Yes, Dr. Tripathi. I have a conflict of interest, I should tell also.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Look, though I am an medicine background man, I am a huge supporter of the MD pathology because I firmly believe that no matter whether it is a pathology or it is a pediatric or a medicine, if it's committed to learn the laboratory hematology and vice versa also, they can learn also. That was issue, it was come up, yes. There has been a writ petition has been filed by the Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court has sent to the MCI to review this case, and MCI is now obtaining the public opinion. Now the public opinion is coming up and it will be decided. Personally, I believe that no harm in pathology and vice versa also. The clinicians also, there's no harm in so when clinicians are running the high-tech equipments also, depends on whose passion is what. And for your information, the first all the state-of-art equipments, including my flow cytometer, was brought by me. I am a clinician. I may not be as good as Professor Tilak, but I manage with 90% accuracy. And once the hematopathologist came, I left all the responsibility to them. It all depends on your passion and your commitment.
Anything, Dr. Tilak, you want to say something?
I think Professor Tilak have a huge responsibility to carry forward this, having a baby step of Varanasi Society of Hematology to a full-fledged hematology department. And make no mistake, I saw there is a cancer chemotherapy is also coming. I think Tata Medical Center probably is coming also. Look, the cancer hospital does not substitute the full-fledged hematology department. So the cancer hospitals is more of a solid tumor. If we look at across the India, across the West also, you have two types of the cancer therapy. One is solid, one is liquid. Liquid has to be done by the hematologist. So those doctors who are treating the liquid tumors, they are called hematologists. So you should have a separate independent hematology department which will take up the not only benign as well as also the malignant liquid tumors.
Just a small difference of opinion with you, sir. In fact, even in the morning, sir, possibly you are undermining the strength of
Undermining
strength of morphology, sir. Let me tell you, sir, that if you start with, sir, I think the discussion has happened.
Yeah.
Sir, I think still morphology is a
I have a best, every same question. When there was a discussion about who we have a support and we couldn't even come to one conclusion because Baylor people wanted that the clinician should be on the that side and pathology should not be included. I strongly objected. That is why the ISB could not give an opinion to the MCI. I gave my daughter's example. My daughter is a NIT Rourkela from mechanical engineering. She went to pursue MS and PhD in mechanical engineering. She pursued, now she's doing my postdoctorate in US. Incidentally, now she's doing the tyrosine kinase sensor study, quantifying the tyrosine kinase. You know what she's running? Flow cytometer high end, mass spectrometry, immunofluorescence microscope. If a mechanical engineer can with a workable knowledge can running such a high-end equipment, why can't a MD medicine or MD microbiology or MD from the SPM with a learning and with passion to learn can run and vice versa also. I have seen many of the MD pathologists, all the leading MD pathologists, all the leading hematologists of the country, they are from the pathology background. I can cite many examples. Avinash Popoli from look at Nagpur, 100 crore hematology institute. He's my Lojun Pen, he's from MD pathology. Look at Ganju. So there are many leading hematologists with good practice from the pathology background also. If you look at my department, I am from the MD medicine, there is another from MD pediatric, there is a madam from the MD pathology also. You find maximum number of the patients in front of her. MD pathology background. So it makes a sense, you know, it's not the but clinicians or the laboratory is the only prerogative of a concerned subject. We in India divide a lot of artificial divisions because we never respect to our finding or our research. Those who really respect a person's commitment or to whatever the result is oriented. So the degree is then immaterial. It all depends your passion and how you are committed, how you are taking up these issues. That's right.
Thank you, Professor Jena. I think this was very basic and very interesting Latin, sort of a. I'm very sure the main points Dr. Vijay Tilak and Jaya sitting over here. I'm sure I don't know really still, do you have any blueprint for the MCI that this is the guideline
Yes,
for institution?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have gone at least 5 times for inspection of the DM hematology. We have a mandate. We have a minimum for one unit. We require 20 beds, both indoor and outdoor, and a laboratory. A laboratory means you should have a minimum of facilities like your pipette cell counter, automated coagulameter, flow plus minus will there. And so far as the immunohistochemistry is concerned, suppose it is happening in the pathology department, it can be cited as that if the same institute also. You can cite that you are having the immunohistochemistry or lymph node biopsy or your histochemistry or your lymphoma panel in the pathology department also. And you should have a minimum facilities of a transfusion medicine is concerned. You should have a component one therapy. So these are the minimum requirements.
Sure. I'm very sure, sir. I can simply tell you the BHU and the Institute of Medical Sciences has got a best pathologist, best hematologist, best hematophysician, and best oncologist and best pediatrician hematologist. But there is always
Sir,
a
true. I have seen when I saw you, I asked my colleague Professor Tripathi, hey, this man I have seen many times in my national conference. He told her he is a great man, he is Professor Singh. Sir, why didn't you open? You are such an iconic personality and yourself and Professor Dubey. And Banaras BHU have all the facilities. DM, neuro, gastro, cardio, everything. Except hematology where the incidence is the highest.
Thank you
Please.
very much. Thank you very much.
Whatever abscess, please try it.
Thank you, sir, for this enlightening talk. I now request Professor R.K. Jena, sir, to honor Professor B. Dubey, sir. Professor Dubey.